Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliot Manning, the Managing Director of Kayman Recruitment. I am joined today by a very good client of ours, someone that we're helping closely, globally as well. I've got today Harriet Rawlinson, who is a business manager at Premier Group in the London office. But Harriet, you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Harriet. I manage our London office here at Premier, but specifically my kind of focus is within our tech team. So I'm a pretty long-standing member of the team and the business here. So I've been here for 10 years, just actually had my 10-year anniversary last month. So I kind of joined as a trainee, not meaning really at all to get into recruitment. I kind of fell into it like the best of us. And I've been able to build a very solid career here, something that I'm very proud of. And in 10 years, I guess I've never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, did you kind of see yourself in this position? Did you know straight away this was the one, I'm here long term, or is it just more because to get stability out of a lot of recruitment businesses and people is it's quite hard, but Premier seems to have done that quite well, especially with yourself.
I'd say no. I didn't know that recruitment was even going to be the right kind of job for me. So my background is I went to university. I then trained or started training to be a solicitor.
Okay.
And the reason that I went into that kind of route of work is I wanted to earn quite a lot of money, and I saw myself as a kind of career woman and somebody that I wanted to kind of hit the top, I guess.
Yeah.
But after I did quite a bit of work experience in law, I kind of realised that I was chasing the cash rather than the actual love of the job. So kind of realised that it maybe wasn't the right thing for me, and then got a call from Rec to Rec agency at the time. I can't even remember which one, but they just kind of put recruitment to me, and I went away, did a bit of research, and then realised actually it ticks a lot of my boxes. So when I joined Premier, I really was brought in to Ben and obviously the journey of the company and the direction that I was told that we were heading in. But no, absolutely not. I never thought I'd be here for 10 years. But I think the growth of the company, opportunities that have been offered, all that kind of stuff has played a huge part into, why I'm still here.
Amazing. So where did you take the decision? Well, when did you make the decision that, during your journey there, that you're going to move forward into more of a business management role, and that's the route you wanted to take with all that responsibility? When did that, kind of kick in?
It was something that was always on the cards from, early kind of doors for me. So when I kind of hit senior consultant, principal consultant level, but I guess for me, it was really like 5 years in. Yeah. So before I moved across into a business management role, it was really important to me that I hit the top biller accolades. And the reason for that is that I just wanted, I guess, something to work towards, number one. I wanted something to aim for, and I really wanted to hit that achievement before I guess I moved back from the day-to-day kind of hands-on job of recruitment. So once I did that, I then felt I was ready to kind of move across into a more management-focused role.
Just to take a step back for a minute, you mentioned your background was more from a legal perspective rather than tech recruitment or even recruitment in general. Mm-hmm. Did you not want to try and get into a career in recruitment with relevance to your legal background? Did you not think that would probably be the best route, or how did you get sort of involved in tech?
I did actually, before I took the offer here at Premier, I had a job on the table with a legal headhunting firm.
Right.
So I was kind of pushed down that route. And the reason that I decided that it wasn't for me was I actually joined recruitment in 2009. So we were the back end of the kind of the 2009, 2010 recession.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, if I want to be in this job long term, and I saw myself as potentially carving a career out of it, I wanted to be somewhere that was going to be lucrative, and I took into account that if we hit another recession, the jobs that weren't going to go anywhere were the tech jobs.
Yeah.
So then I kind of looked at, I'm the most untechnical person that you will ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
But I just kind of looked at what was lucrative and what I could continuously make money in. And that's why I I decided to take a job in technical recruitment rather than legal.
No, it's always interesting to know. And there's a lot of people out there that might be listening that are kind of maybe wondering the same sort of thing as, shall I do something relevant to my degree? Shall I do something relevant to my interests and what I like? Or do I follow the market trend or where the job is? And there's so many different reasons why people fall into recruitment and how they fall into it. So it's just good to know. But moving back, 5 years again, to the point where you decided which sort of career path you wanted to take, how did you learn? What did they do in the business or, to be a manager? Did you have any particular training given? Was it more of a mentor from Ben, or how did that come about?
Loads of different types of routes, really. So we do have a senior training program here.
Okay.
And I think something that was always really important for me was that I was going to move into a role at the time that I was ready for it. I think that there's so many agencies out there that offer, brilliant career progressions. But the reality is that, becoming a great manager and a great leader also comes with experience in the industry.
Yeah.
And, a little bit to do with kind of your age and maturity as well can also play a factor. So our senior training program is a program that aims to develop your kind of softer skills around mentoring and kind of basic leadership. I also did a couple of off-site courses with APSCO, one that was called Step into First Line Management, which was also really helpful to me just in terms of kind of those basic leadership skills that I might not have kind of formally learned. And then a lot of it was just on the job. I was lucky that I had seniors around me and people my senior that I was able to learn off, Ben included in that, Andrew, obviously, who is in our Reading office, and some other managers, obviously, that were in the business at the time as well.
Was there anything that you did personally outside of work that, helped you? Any courses or any books or?
So when I did the training programs with APSCO, they would always suggest, some basic kind of like out of hours reading that you could do. One book that I really kind of took away, and I still revert back to it now, is the 1 Minute Manager.
Yep.
I think that's what it's called. And that was kind of really helpful to, I guess, like time management and that kind of thing. I've also had some coaching that has been external, that the business has obviously kind of helped me with, that has developed my skills from a kind of outside recruitment perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So that was kind of really helpful as well.
As a manager in the business now, what's the biggest challenges that you faced or face? Obviously with this year having been quite a rough year and a tough year, and a lot of people, looking up to you. What challenges have you come up against?
So for this year, the main challenge has just been obviously shifting from an in-office kind of role to work from home.
Yeah.
I think that obviously, it's great, don't get me wrong, it's great to have the perk to be able to work from home, when you can. But I think being able to offer that kind of hands-on support and training to especially our kind of newer and more junior consultants has been really challenging for sure. Yeah. I also think just the vibe, sales is about, being in a kind of busy, hustling and bustling type office where you've got good vibes and you're surrounded by kind of like-minded people that all want to be successful and all want to do well. And I think that when you aren't in that environment because you're working from home or, you're in a situation whereby you can't get into the office, that can be really challenging. On top of that, also when the market takes a bit of a hit, we basically take the attitude of, well, we've got to find this business, so we're just going to have to work at 200% of our ability rather than 100% of our ability in order to find that. So it can be tough to keep motivated in those situations as well. But I think it's just all about taking it back to what your personal goals are and keep striving forward.
Fine. So I'm interested to know about, and I've asked quite a few people the same question, is how did you find the transition into management from a remote aspect? How did you have to completely change your ways of working in order to make it work? Did you feel like you were effective enough as a manager from a remote, point of view, or was it kind of all just the same and nothing really changed?
No, it was definitely, we had to change a lot of what we were doing, mainly just because we train our consultants in a very kind of hands-on type approach. So, luckily some of the tech that we have here was really, helpful to us in able to create that shift. So obviously we've got a phone system whereby we can download and listen back to calls and things like that. So we were still able to do that from home. And obviously we have Microsoft Teams, which obviously, gives accessibility to anybody in the team to call anybody else in the team at any given point in time for additional support. But it's still just not the same as being able to kind of turn to the person next to you and say, what do you think of this? Or being able to actually listen to somebody on the phone.
Yeah. So how's this year been, overall as a business for you, from your point of view and from your opinion? You guys have been growing non-stop and have had a really, in my opinion, from what we've seen, a successful year. I mean, obviously it's got the challenges that we've all had to face, but what's your recap on this year?
So I think don't get me wrong, it has been challenging, but I view as we've kind of approached the end of, or we're halfway through Q4, I really look back and feel kind of really positive about where we've come as an office and as a business. And the reason for that is that although obviously we have had a lot of change, we've also had the opportunity that we probably wouldn't have had to hire some brilliant experienced recruiters that we've, being able to hire from other businesses, which has brought new energy, new ideas, and just a kind of new lease of life to the office as well. So that for me is something that I'm really, I guess, proud of first and foremost, but secondly, I kind of really look forward to what the team have to offer and, where we could kind of get to next year.
Yeah. So what's the plans next year then? Where do you see the business going? And have you got that all lined out and mapped out already?
Yeah, of course. So we have a kind of end of year strategy discussion with the London team, whereby we deliver our kind of strategy and goal plan to the office so that everybody is on board with that. In terms of, my team and what my goals are, it's really just to develop our specialism in our kind of core areas that we know we're good at. So for us, those are development, data and DevOps. All those three areas are kind of striving in the market. They're busy, they're kind of high levels of salaries and therefore good areas of focus for us. So in terms of kind of team headcount, I look to take the technical team in London from 10 heads to 18 by the end of the year. And overall in London, go from 15 heads to 25. So that's the kind of goal for us, and we're confident that we'll hit it for sure.
No, definitely. Look, you guys have got a solid brand in the market, and the let's just say the reputation of a lot of, you've been there, done it, as a business, and you're still going and you're still growing, and there's a lot happening. It's not only just over here in the UK, but also in the US as well, which is going to be a massive play for the business. So just going back from the whole last 10 years, and for those that are starting out in recruitment that are maybe have been in it for a year or 2 years, or even, those that have been in it for 5 years, what advice would you give them to get to the position that you're in now, right? You started off as a trainee, with this being the only company you've ever worked for, to the point now where you're running, a strong business in London. What's the trick? What's the advice that you would give?
I think number one, stick with it. I think, my biggest kind of, I guess, saying I live by is, Rome wasn't built in a day. These things, and to build a kind of solid business that is based on relationship building, let's remember that recruitment and people that are successful in recruitment, build their business over a period of kind of years. It doesn't happen overnight. So number one, stick with it and stick with the kind of tough days, but also have goals in mind, have things that you want to achieve. I think for me, looking back, there were times that were tough whereby I wasn't hitting my targets. I wasn't earning the money that I wanted to be earning, all that kind of stuff. But I just kept my goals in mind. And I knew that if I stuck with it and I carried on every day, giving, 100% and completing goals that I'd action that day, I would obviously do well. and it has worked for me. So
good. There was one other thing, on this that I wanted to bring up as well, and something that I had a recruiter reach out to me about 2 weeks ago, and she works for a big recruitment business, and she was asking if I knew any females, women in recruitment that, they could go to for advice to, I suppose, get that mentor kind of leadership experience and, and advice from. What would you say to, the females that are in recruitment? Because, right, let's be honest, if you look at the industry that we're in, it's very male dominated in a lot of businesses, and a lot of business companies need to focus more on that diversity aspect. But you haven't been in the game now for 10 years as a female. How what would you have said to her, as a mentor, and, trying to push through the ranks, and, the potentially the worries that she's got being surrounded by so many men?
I think it is difficult, and that was, I was in a very similar environment when I joined Premier. I don't necessarily think the industry is kind of as male dominated as what it used to be.
Yeah.
But advice that I would give is, try to engage in platforms that are available out there. For example, I know APSCO do a Women in Leadership, I think it's called,
Yep.
kind of series that they have kind of lunches and all sorts of talks and things that you can listen to.
Yeah.
There are loads of people out there in the industry that are willing to offer advice and kind of help and things like that. But yeah, I don't really see it as a kind of negative, I guess. I think that, from my experience anyway, I think women are better recruiters, if anything, than,
Yep.
Some of the blokes out there.
Yep.
Again, a bit of a stereotype, but, I think that it comes down to your ability and, again, the goals and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, definitely.
Not necessarily a gender kind of issue.
Fine. I mean, look, it's different in every business, right? And some companies have different, views and directions that they go in with their companies, and they get themselves in a position where they get stuck. But moving on from that, you mentioned obviously the growth plans, and for those that are listening, you guys are hiring. Can you tell us a little bit more about the kind of people you want to see?
Yeah, sure. So we are hiring quite rapidly at the moment, and we will continue to do so over the next kind of few months. In terms of what we look for, we're not necessarily after people that are from degree backgrounds. We're really kind of open. We'll look at university students, but also people that are kind of straight out of or have gone straight into work from school. I guess for us, what is important is to have a kind of strong money motivation behind you, and have some kind of solid goals that you are keen to hit. In terms of that kind of sales background, I'm somebody that I didn't have any raw sales experience when I came into recruitment. I had worked in, I'd done some kind of retail jobs and things like that, but certainly nothing that was telephone based. So again, for us, that's not, the be all and end all, but some kind of natural ability in that, if you've done a little bit of kind of telephone based type stuff, that's always helpful. But then, just real kind of positive people that obviously want to aim high. I guess that's what we're after.
Brilliant. Fine. Well, look, for those that are listening in on this podcast and you want to ask Harriet any questions, I'll direct them straight over to you, and they can reach out to you directly. There'll be a link to Harriet's LinkedIn page, as well as information on Premier Group as a business. But I think what you've shared is absolutely brilliant, and anyone listening to this will get a really good picture on you and the company and where you're going and what you've done and where you've been. I think you're a massive inspiration. Obviously, anyone that's been in a business and has grown through the ranks, and especially at a 10-year anniversary that you recently hit as well, is exceptional. So it's been a real pleasure having you on here, Harriet. I'm going to share this out everywhere, and if anyone's got any information that they need, just feel free to reach out.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, any questions, welcome. I'll answer whatever you need to.
Appreciate your time. Speak to you soon, and have a good rest of the day.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Cool. See you later.